I'm ready when you guys are.
Hey, welcome
got-
to another episode of Rankum. This is going to be a fun one today. We're going to be talking about the top 12 Schmoedown matches of all time, which is apparently a massive task because I've had issues with this as well. But yeah, I've got a great panel here. I've got JTH. JTH, how's it going?
Going pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody has in store. Obviously, Schmoedown is something that I've been following for a very, very long time, and been a long time since I've actually reacted to it. But fun to actually be able to talk about it again, and I really look forward to it.
Also, you've got JD. JD, how's it going?
Hey, it's going good. Been a huge fan of the Schmoedown since season 3. So much so that I finally tipped my hand into the fan leagues this year. So, yeah, I'm really, really a huge fan.
Next up, I've got Nikki. Nikki, how's it going?
Not bad. I'm sorry I broke the J name trend with initials, but happy to be here. I'm really excited for this. Obviously, it's been a pretty big drought with Schmoedown content. And I've been delving into question writing recently for my own channel. So it's been really exciting, but excited to talk more about Schmoedown.
And last but not least, we've got Jordan. Jordan, how's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, I've been a huge fan since before the Schmoedown was even a thing. So I've been watching since season 1, since the infamous Blue Fairy, and when JTE was accused of cheating way back when. So yeah, I'm ready to talk about some Schmoedown matches.
But the way this goes is we go around the panel and each nominated Schmoedown match we think belongs on a top 12 list. And at the end, we rank the shortlist that we make, but we'll get to that when we get to it. JDH, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Alrighty, I'm going to start with my personal favorite match in Schmoedown. It took place on February 23rd, 2019, and the only reason I know that is because I have the Patreon card right here. It was this match right here. It was the main event of the first Schmoedown Throwdown.
Okay.
It was the Mike and Rachel, the second encounter, the first time that the Inner Geekdom title was on the line. This had like the perfect way that a match could possibly go. You had Rachel get out to a big lead early, and it made it look like that the babyface was going to triumph and dominate in the match. And then slowly but surely, Mike started to make his way back and hit a unbelievable 5-pointer to force a tiebreaker. And then it was the infamous Ninka tiebreaker, which allowed Rachel to become the Inner Geekdom champion and a double champion, which was a big deal when it happened. But yeah, always been a fan of that match, and always go back and rewatch it multiple times a year, and really love it. So that's going to be my first nomination.
JD, what do you say about Cushing versus Mike 2?
I like it. I think it's a very, very entertaining match. I don't go to that far as sorry. I don't go as far back to that one as other ones. So I would say no, but I think there are a lot of great matches, and there are a lot I go back more to.
Nikki, what do you say about Cushing versus Kalinowski 2?
So I'm really excited that he said that. I'm not gonna say where, but it actually is in my top 12 personally that I made prior to this. It's the highest Inner Geekdom match I have on that list, for a lot of the reasons that JTH said. It's one of the most competitive matches, and I love the aspect of Rachel brought the brute knowledge, but then Kalinowski made the amazing comebacks with the championship rounds that are unique to championship matches. And the fact that it went down to the wire was basically decided by a letter. To me, that's the most invigorating IG match, in my opinion. So I give it a yes.
Jordan, what do you say about Cushing versus Kalinowski 2?
I would say absolutely. Like this match definitely makes my top 12 of all time. I just think that wasn't it not too far away from when Rachel Cushing retired. So I mean, it was kind of a nice send off before that happened, and you had all the drama the first time that they played. Now you're having a big rematch at a live event, which I mean, I just thought, yeah, like it's one of my favorite matches of all time. I go back all the time.
Yeah, this is easy. This was easy going to be yes for me. like Cushing is one of my favorite competitors of all time, and to see her get the belt off Mike and become a double champion was just one of my favorite moments. And that the other match that people have been alluding to may come up later, but we'll see. But Cushing vs. Kalinowski 2 is the first one on the list. JD, what one are you going to bring up?
So this is an out of a box choice. I'll admit this up front. But this was the match that got me hooked on the Schmoedown. I'm, of course, referring to John Campea versus Dan Murrell in Season 3. To be completely honest, I had no idea who Dan Murrell was. I did know who John Campea was because I was a movie talk shill at the time, but I had no idea who Dan Murrell was. And I was like everybody else, I was like, who is Dan Murrell and why does he think he has the gall to talk smack to John Campea? I don't think people really remember that this time, but I certainly do. Everybody thought John Campea was going to win that match, or at least it was he was favored. To me, it has a lot of the elements that the Schmoedown that we love, like the promos, the story, some of the early storylines. I just love this match. There are, as said, some, it was a different league at that time, but I think we're going to run into this with a lot of matches that we come up with. But it has a lot of the elements that I love, and that's why I think it's worthy of it.
Nikki, what do you say about Murrell versus Campea?
So that is a significant match for me because, like many others, it was my very first. But I was, on the contrary, I knew exactly who Dan was because I was a massive Screen Junkies fan, and I had no idea who Campea was. A good attribute of that match is the trash talk, especially leading into it. Like, I seriously thought that Campea legitimately hated him. And so I bought into it. But I can't say that's a top one for me, just because even though it has that significance, it's one that doesn't stick with as well. I think, and that's not to say that people have been retired, like we can't reference their matches, but I think because Campbea's been so far removed, it doesn't resonate with me the same way, unfortunately, which it's still a very entertaining. But then the other thing that's crazy to remember is that ended in a TKO technically before they had established it. So I would say it was still a good match overall, but not one that I have in the higher echelon.
Jordan, what do you say about Campea versus Murrell?
Well, I will say that when I first saw it, this was at a time where I was really trying to decipher what was part of the storyline and what was actually real. And so, like for this match, I really bought into it. I mean, I thought the same thing. I thought that Campea really hated Murrell, and I didn't really know who Dan Murrell was all that much either. I mean, I just knew it was kind of like the fact checker from Screen Junkies guy kind of, and so I mean, I didn't really know this before all the hype of Dan Murrell, but I probably wouldn't put it in my top matches just because I mean, there's so many other matches I'd probably go to before this one, and I mean, I don't know how many times John Campea really played in the Schmoedown, but I mean, besides this one, and even at this one, I never really took him that serious as a Schmoedown competitor. It's just kind of something that, I don't know, like, it just seemed like he was more doing it for fun versus, like, taking it real serious, so.
Yeah, so I do like this match. This is a good match. Campea is one of those people I'd like to see come back at some stage, but definitely. I just don't know. I don't think he would be able to hang in the way the matches are now. But that being said, I'm going to have to say no to this as well. This is just one of those matches that it's like most people will probably say, this is the one that got me into the Schmoedown. This is how I found out what it actually was, because I just missed the Schmoedown days where they did those at there. But after I watched this, I actually went back and watched those old matches. But JDH, what would you have said about Murrell and Campea?
Yeah, I mentioned this before the stream started. This list, I think, is going to be kind of difficult to make just because there are so many differing opinions on what great matches there are in Schmoedown, or just that there are so many great matches. So I feel like at some point we're going to need to be a little more lenient about what we think is top 12. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat on this one. There was another match in season 3 that got me into Schmoedown. I think for a lot of people, that it's probably a match that got a lot of other people involved in Schmoedown too. I won't say what it is because it'll probably get brought up at some point too. But yeah, it's a fun match. I wouldn't say a great match. I actually wasn't familiar with either of them when I saw the match because I wasn't into the all the movie talk stuff at the time. I kind of got into it later on. I kind of saw them in Schmoedown first and then kind of went back to their stuff. So looking back at it, I enjoy the match more than I did the first time I saw it. But I wouldn't say enough to say it's in strict top 12. So I would have said no as well.
But Nikki, what is your first match you're going to bring up?
Okay, so I'm going to concede there is a pretty good amount of bias for this because I was personally at this match myself. I don't know if you can see this. This was my VIP picture at the Atlanta event last year.
And I know which one you're going to say.
So it is Bateman Merle 1 that was live in Atlanta, the very last live event on League Day last year. In addition to my personal bias, because I was in the front row, it was a really it's just such an exciting match because it goes literally down to the wire. These were my 2 favorite competitors of all time going at it for the first time. It went all the way to sudden death. It had what, in my opinion, even though I wouldn't have said it should have won, but a moment that I think was robbed of a moment of the year nomination, the Tyler Perry round. Just the excitement, especially being in that room of Bateman spinning this category that was a wild card because it was brand new to the show. Dan strategically betting 0, which if he bet anything, he would have lost. But he strategically bet 0. And that moment where Bateman bet the full 3, got it, and got his first lead in that match. This match, it was just a very high level. It was adrenaline pumping. And it's one obviously that Ben's looking back at what single point did he just need to get because it went to sudden death. And I mean, we've also been talking about it's caused a lot of conversation of what are the point values for questions worth because of people having the discrepancy between the Nick and Nora and the heavyweights. So it's also brought up a lot of conversation about the format of the show itself. So that's my favorite match of all time, what I want for fourth first.
Jordan, what do you say about Bateman versus Merle?
For me, I think I can go back and forth between Merle versus Bateman 1 or Merle versus Bateman 2. I mean, either one were just a really great match. And I mean, I could put. Well, for me, they're honestly kind of equal. I felt like that Merle versus Bateman 1, I was rooting a lot more for Merle than I was for Bateman. But then on the second go around, I was definitely rooting a lot more for Bateman just because Dan's been the juggernaut. So I mean, I just want to see someone kind of just dethrone the champ, which I mean, it finally did happen down the road. But I mean, I would say it was a really exciting match. I would definitely put it in one of my favorite matches of all time. I mean, it definitely, went to sudden death. It came down to the wire. That's exactly what you want to see at a live event too. So, I mean, people definitely got their money's worth for sure.
So this was the second Bateman Merle, or was this the first one?
This is the first. The first one, not the virtual second one.
Yeah,
it's all good. So many people played each other so many times they all blended to one for
Right.
me. So just we had to make sure. But yeah, this is a great match. I wrote a lot of matches down on a bit of paper. So it wasn't one, but it's just because I was getting to a point where I was getting Merle match, so down the list. But I'm going to say yes to this. I do like this match. JDH, what would you have said?
I would have said yes too. There's something about all these the live matches that just add to the match itself, just because of the crowd reaction. There's just something about when the audience is behind both players or one player, rooting someone to win or rooting against another. To me, it just adds to the match. I know it's kind of not fair to the studio matches back in the day, but to me, it's just to hear the reaction from the fans is always made a match feel more important. And yeah, in that match, it was great that you actually brought up the audience and that you were there. So yeah, I remember that match very well. It was one of the last matches I actually reacted to on my channel, so I remember it very well. And it was an incredible match. So would have been an easy yes for me as well.
JD, what would you have said about Bateman versus Merle?
This is tough. I really do like this match. On the other hand, the reason I love the Schmoedown is moments. And the one reason I would have said no is because I prefer Bateman versus Merle 2 and the I won moment. To me, that is quintessential, like Schmoedown, like sports feel that Christian was going for. That would have been the one reason, and I feel like having both of the matches on here, I feel like I don't know that I feel like we can discuss it later, but yeah, I prefer Bateman versus Merle too.
I mean, you can try and get the other one on later if you wish, but yeah.
Yeah. That's why I would have said no.
But with that being said, Jordan, what is your first match you're going to bring up?
So this match that I want to bring up is one of my favorite matches of all time. And it's actually one of my favorite storylines as well. So I got to bring up the Nerds Watch versus Blofield's Cat. So that was the one where Ken Napzok took a big heel turn and he essentially abandoned Rachel Cushing to play Blofield's Cat on her own, and she literally almost beat them by herself. And I thought that was like really, really amazing. And I really wish that they would do like more storylines kind of like that. Like I think Ken Napzok is a great heel. Like he did an amazing job, and it really got me. Like when it happened, I was like, what an idiot, what a jerk to just do that to Rachel Cushing. She's like one of the most like sweetheart, like innocent people we have in the Schmoedown, and to just do that to someone like that. But then she just comes out and she just dominates it. And she literally almost beat him. She was like so close to beating them on her own. So for that, I got to go with Nerds Watch versus Blofield's Cat.
Yeah, this is one that was on. I had written down too. That I think this is a great match, and it shows the strength of Rachel as a competitor. But she held off Blofield's Cat for the good part of that match on her own, and almost beat them. But it just came down to their 5 points and all that. But this is just one of those ones that this is one that the moment is part of the reason I'm saying yes to. Just for Ken's heel turn, just coming in after the match is like, oh, the match is done. But yeah, but with that being said, JDH, what do you say about Blofield's Cat versus Rachel Cushing? Well, Newswatch, but yeah.
This is a fun match. The only reason I'm going to say no is simply because I feel like the match is remembered more for everything that happened after the match rather than the match. And I think when that happens, I think it kind of, I don't want to say it hurts the match, but it kind of makes the match feel more forgotten, which for a best match of all time, I think is credential, how much you actually remember the match. We all remember everything that happened after the match, but to me, it's almost like the post match was too good because it took away from the match itself. So I'm going to give a reluctant no. I really do like the match, but I'm going to have to say no to it.
JD, what do you say about Blofield's Cat versus Nerds Watch?
JTH has kind of hit the nail on the head of why I was leaning towards no. I love the storyline aspects of what it meant for the Schmoedown and Ken's heel turn and everything like that. But I think it would have been more amazing. I think it would have been remembered more if Rachel Cushing actually would have won too. I feel like the ending actually kind of soured me again because it feels like it was done, and they said this match was really for storyline purposes, why it was set up. And I feel like it's another reason why you don't really see a lot of these matches that go like this. I feel like this was an experiment and it didn't go the way that they thought it was reaction wise. So yeah, that's why I'm going to say no.
But Nikki, it's all on you. What do you say about Blofeld's Cat versus Nudes Watch? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm very shocked because it's very hard for me. I'm actually going to say yes, because one thing I want to, and obviously this is based on the individual, I'm going to fight back against the match not being memorable, because Rachel on her own took them to the wire. It was not a blowout by any means. And one of the key moments that I remember years later is when they got a question about Taylor Sheridan wrong, because they answered Tyler Sheridan, and then she instantly got a 2-point steal on that. That match is so much tighter than it had any right to be. And again, like you've all already echoed a lot of the storyline aspects of it, and that's one where it did show that she really could have been capable of taking them down on a different given day. So it's very tough. It's one where I did not think about initially, but I think everything you all said about storyline, plus it really was, and it was also even from Blofeld's Cast, short-lived as they were, that was a better match by them even. So I'm going to give it, it's very close, but I will say yes.
And with that, Blofeld's Cat vs. New Watch does make the list. With that, it comes over to me. And my first match I'm going to bring up was mentioned in the chat just before, and it hasn't come up, but now it has. Bibbs versus Andreyko 1. This was, I think, both of their introductions into the Schmoedown. I think this was both their first matches, and they came and proved sort of why they are very dominant trivia players. This was just one of those ones that went down to the wire. I think they both set this points record. I don't remember the match that well. I meant to watch some of these again, but I didn't. But it was a really fun match. I really love Bibbs as a competitor, and I think he's gotten a lot better since here. But JDH, what do you say about Bibbs versus Andreyko 1?
This actually would have been the very next match I would have brought up. Absolutely love this match. Not just for the match, but the fact that it introduced both Bibbs and Andreyko. I'd seen Bibbs a couple times on What the Flick, so I knew his knowledge for movies. Was blown away by his that level of knowledge, though, and Andreyko obviously was no slouch either. And yeah, that's a match that works in any format, any season that they did. Obviously, they proved it in the rematch when the title was on the line. But yeah, this is another match that I go back and rewatch all the time. It's just so much fun. Easy yes for me.
JD, what do you say about Bibbs versus Andreyko 1?
It wasn't on my list, but I'm going to say yes, because this also is the beginning of the Bibbs Andreyko. They've been doing this for ever now, in between the many horror exhibitions too. And as they mentioned, the rematch, and they always, it's always and especially with the Shazam versus Ya couple recently, and you kind of saw this accumulation of everything. Yeah. It started here. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a yes.
Nikki, what would you have said about Bibbs versus Andreyko 1?
Easy yes for me. This is probably the earliest match I have on my list. I mean, just the record-breaking scores by them. It was my introduction to Bibbs. I had no idea who he was, and I was just instantly blown away by his level of play. And obviously, there is the precedent leading all the way up, as JD said, to the most recent teams match. So easy yes.
And Jordan, what would you have said about Bibbs versus Andreyko 1?
Originally, it wasn't on my list, but the more that I think about it, though, I think this is a great match. And I remember when I first saw it, I was just really blown away by both of them, because it was a debut match from both of them, and I was like, holy crap! These guys are gonna tear through the league. I was literally kind of scared of these guys, honestly, as far as their overall trivia knowledge. I just was we just got two Titans in the game, and they proved it on day one. So, yeah, I would say that it belongs on the list. Yeah.
JDH, what is the next match you're bringing up?
Okay, so I'm going to go outside the box here because this is actually not a regular Schmoedown match. I'm actually going to go to the one of the Patreon exhibition matches, which we asked if could be eligible. And I'm actually pretty sure they put this on the YouTube page at some point. So I'm pretty sure you can see it, even if you weren't a Patreon subscriber. I'm going to go with the Jurassic Park Iron Man match between Perry Nemiroff and Cody Hall. Controversial maybe on my part, but I actually like this better than the Star Wars Iron Man match. Obviously, the Star Wars match has a lot more pizzazz because it was spectacular, but for me, why this one always stood out more is because of the fact that it was Perry and Cody, which two players that we didn't get to see a whole lot of, and we really got to see their skills as movie trivia players. And the way that match ended is, you can't write that any better as well. So it probably gets forgotten by a lot of people simply because it was an exhibition, but it's still a match that you can sit down and enjoy when two players have that much passion for a movie franchise that they love so much. So, yeah, kind of an odd choice, but I'm going to throw this one out here. I'm going to go with Perry and Cody, the Jurassic Park Iron Man.
JD, what do you say about the Jurassic Park Iron Man match?
I'm going to say yes, because number one, I don't think a lot of people know this. I haven't been in the space long enough, but Jurassic Park is the movie that made me fall in love with movies. This whole franchise is a franchise I love, and to see the love in these two players with Cody Hall and Perry Nemiroff. Perry Nemiroff, who I've always loved as a personality, never really got a chance to shine, but she really did shine in this match. And eventually we saw her with her major upset this year with, KO Kalinowski. Yeah, I'm going to say yes because, it just hit all the boxes for me.
Nikki, what do you say about the Jurassic Park exhibition match?
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to give a pretty easy no. And maybe it's to me because, obviously they're great. I don't have that connection with the franchise as much as a lot of people. But to me, there's a couple, because I have a few exhibitions myself that I'm going to be proposing. And that was a very great match. That was an absolutely high level match, especially seeing people nerding out and flexing their knowledge in something that specific is always very impressive, because then it does have to get more narrow and nitty-gritty. But to me, that one there's 3 different exhibitions that just connect with me more, that I think have equal level of plays, but I think their implications surpass what that one has. Because obviously, yeah, it's great seeing Perry and Cody, who are both, I think, definitely underrated players, but I just never had that same connection with it.
Jordan, what do you say about the Jurassic Park exhibition match?
So this one's tough for me because also Jurassic Park's probably in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I just love anything Jurassic Park, and I love the whole series as a whole. I'm just not just about the first movie, but and also too, Cody Hall is probably one of my favorite people on earth. I love Cody Hall, and also Perry is awesome too. So, but at the same time though, I'm just looking at my list and I'm just seeing so many other matches I could put ahead of this, and for whatever reason, I must have missed the announcement or wasn't paying attention or was busy or whatever when they announced it, because I remember hearing about it, but then I got busy doing some other stuff. I missed it when it aired, but then later on I went back and watched it, but it probably doesn't quite make my top 12. It's close, but I'd probably have to say no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say no to this as well. Partly because there's a lot of exhibitions I do like more than this, and but yeah, this is definitely close to a top 12 one for me. But yeah, it's a no. So sadly, it doesn't make the list. JD, what is your next match?
Another kind of out of the box older choice, actually older than my first choice, but it is the kind of season 1 Mark Riley versus Josh McCouga. The tournament finals that gave Mark Riley the championship. I think it has similarly, again, a lot of very early stages, and they kind of went away some of this in season 3, but a lot of the entrances and I just really do love this match. So I'm going to say Mark Riley versus Josh McCouga 1.
Nikki, what do you say about Mark Riley versus Josh McCouga?
So it's definitely a very significant match. It's literally the first championship we have in the show's history. But I guess for me, when I think season 1, as significant as that match is, the first one that comes to mind for me is JTE Ellis. To me, I think just the moments within that stick out to me more, to where that one, which is crazy to think, but when I think of the earlier seasons, I think that one doesn't have that same moment that fist pump moment as some of the other ones do, just in terms of the implications. So yeah, for me, unfortunately, it's a no.
But Jordan, what do you say about Mark Riley versus Josh McCouga?
So when it comes to season 1 matches, there's 3 of them that I have kind of on my list, or just outside my top 12, but this is one that I actually do have on my list, and season 1 to me was just back when I feel like they're just having so much fun playing all these matches, whereas now that I feel like there's so much pressure, you got to bring your absolute A game, and whereas back then you got to have some knowledge, but they're just having fun. You could see it. They're just having a blast doing some movie trivia, and to have Mark Riley be the first champion that we've ever had, and for him to be the champion for so long. We literally have an award named after him for that reason, the Yodi Award. And I'd say, yeah, I think that it actually would belong on the list. Yes.
Yeah, when it comes to the season 1, season 2 matches, I think they're entertaining, but it's one of those ones that there's also something missing to it too. Unlike when you watch them now, when they're all sort of polished up and edited and all that. So I'm going to have to say no, but it is a good match. But yeah, not top 12. JDH, what would you have said about?
I think he's the tiebreaker, actually, because
I knew what I meant.
Yeah, right.
So at the time, I probably would have said no, but when you go back and look at this match throughout the years, and just kind of the different paths that both of these players ended up going on, obviously Mark Riley is considered to be on the Mount Rushmore of Schmoedown. He's considered one of the greatest players, and McCouga over the years has just kind of become a punching bag, kind of just the comedy relief. So it's like going back and rewatching this match now, considering that and realizing that Josh McCouga came that close to becoming Schmoedown's first champion of the league is kind of astounding, which makes it more fun to watch even more now than it did then. So I'm actually going to say yes, because this match gets better and better every year just based on where these two players ended up going.
But with Mark Riley versus Josh McCouga does make the list. Nikki, we go to you for your next nomination.
This is the match I've rewatched more than any other. I have every question asked and it pretty much memorized, and so many of the moments. And this was this biggest upset in Schmoedown history. It's Merle Guy. Yeah. I feel like there's not much I can say about this that hasn't been said, but if you want to talk about, just for me at least, especially being a general in the Action Army, just the entertainment value this match had, because going into it, obviously everyone's it was supposed to be the great return of Dan Merle, and just Guy was at the peak of his heelishness. Just the way he was jabbing the Horseman, because we had just had the big Horseman reveal, everything leading up to it. And now, to be fair, like, it was still, even though it was a TK, it was not a bad match even by Dan. I mean, he got 6 in round 1. He hit opponent's choice, so he struggled, but it wasn't, I can forgive him a little bit for that. And he was still coming back. And he lost on what was a little bit of a tough 5 part. And this was like the match of Guy's life. That it was just, especially again, as an Army fan, like, just really invigorating and satisfying to watch. Like I said, I basically have this match memorized to the T. I watched it so many times, and just seeing Christian's face react when, like, his plans for Sam and Dan to have a rematch is going down the toilet. And the way they weaved in the story with Ben and Riley and I will be there. I'm obsessed with this match.
But Jordan, what do you say about Murrell versus Guy?
So this match was incredible, and I really think that for Dan it was just a case of just rust. Like, he had been away from the game. The game had really evolved quite a bit, and then you had all the trash talking from Andrew Guy, and actually Team Action, especially when they're at the peak of them being heels, are my favorite team of all time. I love Team Action, so I'm a huge fan of them. And then you had the live event before where they had the big reveal of the 5 horsemen, and then you had Andrew Guy come on and just do all the trash talking, and then Dan Murrell comes back, and it's like this big intimidating moment, but then he just comes back and Andrew Guy wins the match, and then, like, everybody's shocked, especially a Christian. Like, I'm the same way. I just love the look on his face, and so his plans are all screwed up, and so yeah, this is an easy yes for me. I say yes, it definitely belongs.
It's a brilliant motherfuckers will always be the line will always be from this match. But yeah, this is an easy yes for me. Like, this is the one that made Christian decide to actually start having an outcome depending on who won, because, as Christian will always say, he had no idea where to go when Guy beat Dan. He threw all his plans out the window. But yeah, so it's an easy yes. JDH, what do you say about Murrell versus Guy?
I would have said no just because of how depressed it made me. I remember reacting to this match on this very channel because we were all watching the collision together, and I remember being kind of like this and like this, like, what the hell did I just see? And as everybody has mentioned, Christian's plans getting ripped up like a ruined bracket was just awful, because I remember the build up to that, because I remember that they had announced that Dan was going to be at the next live event as soon as he came back, and I remember buying tickets because I wanted to see Dan compete, and then you look at where it ended up going, because then he gets put into the Anarchy team match, and it's just like, man, I wonder what would have happened if he had actually won that match. So yeah, it was just one of those weird, depressing moments for myself, and so yeah, I would have said no just out of spite.
I can respect that, to be honest.
JD, what would you have said about Murrell versus Guy?
So I'm glad Nikki mentioned it, because that would have been also my next pick. It definitely is a yes for me. On the one hand, I am a Dan Murrell fan, and the idea, because Christian has even said this, that if Dan Murrell would have won, it would have been Sam Levine versus Dan Murrell at a live event. And to me, on the one hand, that would have been amazing. On the other hand, as a action general myself, what we got out of Andrew Guy after it, where he went with next, he played Mark Riley, and then he was in a #1 contender match with John Roca. And if he would have won that, we would have seen Andrew Guy in a championship, a singles championship match. How insane would have that been? So on the other hand, I really do like where the storyline ultimately went with that too. So for those and several reasons, yes, I will give it a yes.
But with that being said, Jordan, what is the next match you're going to bring up?
So the next match I wanted to bring up was actually one from this past year, and it's actually Dan Murrow versus Ethan Irwin. So I thought that match was an incredible match. It was a match that went into sudden death. That they like went down to the wire, and you had several questions. It wasn't a quick sudden death. You had several questions, and you could just see at the end of that match the exhaustion and the look on their face. Dan obviously ended up winning, but I mean, it was just like it went
You're
down.
saying one? You're saying Dan Murrow versus Ethan 1 or 2? Because two is the one where Dan Murrow won. He didn't actually win the first one.
He's talking about the third one.
So yeah, there's the one that went into the sudden death where they had like 4 or 5 questions.
Yeah, so Ethan Irwin won that one.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
so
no. So there have been 3 Dan Murrow matches. The third one was this year. It was a virtual match. It was after Ethan beat Roca in one of the first pay-per-views that came back. And this was when it was the Can't Take My Eyes Off of You for the last question that Dan won.
Yep, exactly, yeah. So that's the one. Yep, and yeah, so but yeah, I just love that match, and I'm a huge Ethan Irwin fan. Like he's probably in my top 5, but I mean, yeah, that match is just two titans of the game, just kind of, and you can just see the sheer knowledge that, like, I don't know, like I would put them as like two of the best to ever play. So I mean, I would definitely do the Dan Murrow versus Ethan Irwin. I know they played so many times, but it's that one where they went into sudden death. So
okay.
But yeah, Murrow versus Ethan. Yeah, out of all the Murrow matches from last year, I'm going to have to say no to this one because I think there is another one in which he went to sudden death, which I think was a lot better. But with this one, I think it's fine. Like Ethan and Murrow they're two great competitors, and it showed sort of them battling each why they're both so good. But I'm going to say no to this. JH, what do you say about Murrow versus Ethan?
Yeah, it's kind of weird when y'all were talking about which match we were talking about, because I actually forgot that they had played this year. I actually thought you were talking about the second match too. So yeah, I actually don't remember much about this match. Honestly, I'll have to go back and rewatch it again because yeah, I actually drew a blank when you said third time they played, and yeah, so I'm actually kind of ashamed to say I don't remember anything about it. So I guess I would have to say no just on that, sadly.
JD, what do you say about Murrow versus Ethan 3?
So yeah, that's why I was asking, clarifying which one it was, because I'm going to say no also, particularly because when we're talking about this rivalry, these series of matches, this trilogy, so to speak, there is one on here that like definitely is on my list, and I'm just looking at how many spots that we have, and I think that one is more worthy than this one. So for that reason, I'm going to say no.
And Nikki, what would you say about Ethan versus Murrow 3?
So I do love this match, and I loved it when it had aired because it was so competitive, and it did go pretty deep into sudden death. Honestly, the only reason I'm saying no is because there are matches I do like more than it. It's not, to me, anything wrong with the match. There's just several that I put above it, but I do love it though.
But with that, comes back to me. Nikki brought up one match that made JDH's heart break. I'm probably going to bring up another one. I'm bringing up this one has is a really like big emotional one for me. And it's also one that kind of got to be a part of as well. It's Shy Wolves versus Corruption. With the final match for both Rachel and Clark Wolf. I love the Shy Wolves as a team. They're one of my favourite teams. And this was one of those ones in which the stakes were really high. And it was a case of if Corruption won, they were champions. But I think I think if I remember rightly, if Shirals won, they were still going to retire regardless. So their bouts would have been vacated. But this is just one that they went to the wire. That I think it went to sudden death. I don't remember that too well. But this is also one, like as I alluded to, I got to be a part of because me and a bunch of other reactors got to film a special tribute video for Shire Wolves. And this is just one of those ones that I will always remember for that moment, just being able to being a part of a match and be able to send competitors away like with a lot of love. But JDH, what do you say about Shire Wolves versus Corruption?
I remember this match very well. I also got to take part in that tribute video. Actually led to me when I met Rachel at Spectacular 4. She actually knew who I was when I walked up to meet her, which was actually kind of humbling and great. Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It was very depressing, to say the least. But I can't take away from the match. The match was excellent. It kind of had the bittersweet ending with the bad guys winning. But yeah, I mean, it was a great match. I can't take anything away from it. So it's a yes for me.
JD, what do you say about Shire Wolves versus Corruption?
I debated back and forth between this Shire Wolf match and another Shire Wolf match. This Shire Wolf match did not make my list. At the same time, I can't deny that it was a brilliant, brilliant match. The competitive level that both Corruption and Shire Wolves were at, and the fact, as you said, it went down to the wire. I don't think I can say no to it, even though it said there's one match I prefer over this one. But it's a great match, and Corruption was a brilliant team for a reason. So yeah, I have to give it its due. Yeah.
Nikki, what would you have said about Shire Wolves versus Corruption?
As impactful as that match was, I'm kind of in the same vein of there's just other Shire Wolves matches that I have over this one. To me, the significance is mostly just because it was their final match, and everything that happened after the fact to me is more significant than the match itself. It as competitive as it was compared to some other ones, it didn't have. It's not one I rewatch as much. Again, I'm rewatching the whole end of it more than the actual match itself. And it wasn't the first time they lost the belt. It was the first time it was the first time Corruption had gotten the belt. But to me, I guess there were just so many other like firsts for them that came before then. And even though it was the goodbye, it just never had the same impact on me. And there are other ones that I will possibly be putting above this later on.
Yeah. Jordan, what would you have said about Shire Wolves versus Corruption?
For me, like, I absolutely love the Shire Wolf, but I also point to a few other matches involving the Shire Wolves. I mean, it was fun because it was their last match, kind of a send off, but at the same time, they didn't win, and it was just, I mean, everything that took place after the whole tribute, I thought that was amazing. But as far as the actual match itself goes, I mean, people kind of attribute it to a really great match for them because of the tribute after. But I think that it would have meant a little more if they would have won. But for me, I can pick maybe at least two other matches involving the Shire Wolves that would put over this one. So I probably got to say no to this.
But JTH, we go to you. What is your next match you're going to bring up?
I'm going to go with what many people probably think is the best team match that ever happened, or best team title match. It took place shortly after Schmoedown Spectacular 3, and it was the second encounter between the Patriots and Above the Line, which I actually have the memorabilia from that match, if I can show it off a little bit quick. Jeff Schneider's actual remember the Titan shirt that I actually got from him at the Spectacular. So yeah, that was
issues with that.
yeah. But I remember like the build up between with this match, because obviously they had an incredible match at the Spectacular earlier in the previous year, and then there was so much build because it was can the Patriots go 10-0? Can Above the Line do the unthinkable? I think it was also the first time that we ended up getting a double champion when Sam got the belt, and it was just so much that this match delivered. One of the few matches that lived up to the incredibly high stakes and standards that was let in. So was kind of soured on it when it first happened, because I was kind of hoping for the Patriots to win, because I like Jeff so much. And so, yeah, it kind of saddens me that the first one I bring up that involves Jeff is one that he loses. So, but yeah, I'm going to go with Above the Line Patriots 2.
JD, what do you say about Above the Line Patriots 2?
This may be, I don't know how much of a controversial opinion this is going to be, but I actually, I went back and forth between this one and Above the Line 3, the Iron Man match. And for a number of reasons, I just prefer the Iron Man match. So it would be a no for me, but I'm going to have a feeling it's going to go through. So I don't think my vote will ultimately mean anything. But yeah, that's just what it comes down to. For storyline purposes too, I loved what the fallout from that was too, and just the pure trivia knowledge that was on display for Above the Line 3. So yeah, it would be a no for me.
Yeah. Nikki, what do you say about Patriots versus Above the Line 2?
This one is a little bit tougher because I initially considered it, initially took it off, but it is a phenomenal match. And obviously it marked a huge end to their enormous run they were having. And they definitely pulled off being heel as well, because I was very happy to see them finally lose. And just have it go to Sam and Drew, who at that point were very good baby faces. And just the moment of Sam holding the two belts, I did very much enjoy the third one as well, because I think that even though it's not the same as the regular format, I do love the Iron Man matches as well. And that it would be nice to see a couple more of them as at other points, or have as a potential stipulation for the champion. But this one was so satisfying in the moment. And at that point, to me, Above the Line had overtaken them as the best team at that point in time. So I'm gonna, it's tough. It's very close, but I will say yes.
Jordan, what do you say about Above the Line versus Patriots 2?
So this one's probably one of the easiest yeses for me. I think I'll just say that just because it was just the epic end to the reign of the Patriots, who were champions for over a year, and then somebody finally took him down, and I was really happy that it was Above the Line, just because I'm a huge Sam Levine fan. I actually got a chance to meet Sam Levine, not at a Schmoedown event, but actually at a Doug Loves Movies. I went and saw him there. But yeah, I was just like wanting the Patriots to lose for so long. Every time that I hear the Dropkick Murphys, it just gave me this like pain, like in my head, like an instant headache, because we just hear it so much. And so I was just like really happy to just see him lose. And yeah, I mean, just for that reason, I gotta say yes.
Yeah, I've got to say yes to Above the Line Patriots 2 as well. This is just one of those matches which is great. And I too was flip-flopping between this one and the Iron Man match. But this is just one of those ones that I think is great. It deserves to be here. So yeah, it makes the list. JD, what is your next match you're going to bring up?
But speaking of Iron Man matches, I think this is probably the ultimate Iron Man match. Sam Merrill versus Ken Knapsack for the Star Wars Championship. I just love this match. This was Ken Knapsack and Sam Witwer at the top of their games at the time. And it was like this ultimate accumulation. Like, they were the two best Star Wars people at the time. And I just like the fact that it came down to like the last question, like literally the last question. Sam Witwer got the last question right as regulation end, and that's what claimed it for him. Like, I just love the kind of tension that whole thing did. So to me, Sam Witwer versus Ken Knapsack, I think that would be 2.
But yeah, Nikki, what do you say about Sam Witwer versus Ken Knapsack?
Easiest to me. This is a situation where it's insane to think that Sam Witwer has been out of the league for over 3 years now, because he was just such a juggernaut throughout his entire time, from just his debut against Freddie Prinze Jr. up until that match, just being just this Star Wars machine. And again, the fact that it came that close to the wire, where people were debating the legitimacy of that final question. And to this day, even though he's made abundantly clear he's not returning, people still begging for him to come back. Just the impact of that match, and Ken also was amazing in it as well. They were toe to toe. He had that huge comeback, because Sam was mostly leading, and then in the speed round was where Ken started to make a comeback. And of course, that's also when the Lions Den was at the peak of their own heelishness. So just the story implications and just the high level, that's an easy yes.
Jordan, what do you say about Sam Witwer versus Ken Knapsack?
Yeah, this one's an easy yes for me also. Just like seeing just them go like back and forth, question after question after question. You could see that they were just absolutely exhausted at the end of it all, but you could just, I mean, it's really like the first time where I saw that deep of Star Wars knowledge between 2 competitors, and it was just amazing. Like I don't know if I've even really had more fun watching a Schmoedown match before. Like, this is probably like in my favorite of all time. So yeah, an easy yes. Let's say yes.
Yeah, this would have been an easy yes as well. This went down to the wire. Whether or not you're agreeing that Sam should have got that final point or not in that final minute, I'm not undecided where I land on that debate. But this is just a fun match, just 2 Star Wars sweaties going at it. It's literally going to be the one that I brought up next, because I realised we hadn't mentioned a Star Wars match at all yet, but this is deserving of this list. JDH, what would you have said?
Like I hinted at earlier, there's other Iron Man matches I like more than this one. I don't love this match, but it's not because of the match itself. It's just because I don't have the passion for Star Wars that most others do. But if any Star Wars match was going to get on here, I have no problem with this one getting on. Again, not my favorite, but if it came down to me, which I wasn't expecting that it was going to, but I would have said yes and put it on.
But with that, we go back to Nikki for the next nomination.
Okay, so this is probably one of the weirder ones I'm going to put out there, but this is a match that, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think this season any exhibitions were even a consideration for match of the year. To me, it is an absolute crime that this was not nominated, and I would have voted for this over the one that won. It is the Lord of the Rings exhibition match.
Yes.
One
the one I was gonna say.
Perfect. And first of all, everyone's playing at an insanely high level. We have Smets, Goddard, Parker, and Damon. They all play amazingly. And I think what's especially significant about this is for Parker, because I feel like he's kind of got lost in the shuffle after losing to Chance. But you like, even if you like look down upon him for that loss, you cannot deny his prowess. This is also, again, so correct me if I'm wrong, I think the deepest sudden death that we go into, it was 16 questions. And before the winning question for Parker, he and Damon missed one of them. Otherwise, they hit all of them. And I am not a huge Miller fan whatsoever. This match was incredible. I don't know if I had gotten it spoiled from it, but I know people, like, I heard the hype about it before I got a chance to watch it. And all I could think to myself was like, there's no way it's like that good. This match is incredible. All those are deep cut. It's known as basically one of the hardest IG slices. And I think it deserves a lot more respect than it's gotten.
Jordan, what what you have said. What do you say about Lord of the Rings exhibition match?
Well, you kind of already heard a little bit of my reaction, but yeah, this is an easy yes for me because I remember just when I was watching this match, I just seen Kevin Smets just come out and dominate, and I can't remember the exhibition match right before this, but he came out and he won another one right before this, I think, and so like he was just like on a roll. But the thing is, they're all exhibition matches. He wasn't getting actually like real matches that actually count for points and stuff, and like he was really showing that like he has some incredible knowledge, and so that's just why like fingers crossed. I mean, that we see Kevin Smets back in the movie Trivia Schmoedown again because he is just a force to be reckoned with. He's one of my favorite competitors, and yeah, it really blew me away. Like when I sat down to watch this match, I thought that was going to be all Robert Parker, and Robert Parker really held his own, but in the end, Kevin Smets just took it. So yeah, I got to say yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those exhibition matches that was also put on the actual YouTube channel as well. And yeah, I think the reason they don't nominate the exhibition matches, I think it's partly because most of them are Patreon exclusive, but because this one was put on the YouTube channel, I do agree it should have been nominated. It was a crime it wasn't. But yeah, this was a great match. Like Parker really showed how much middleweight he knows. And like I've known Parker ever since from the fan league days, so I'm one of those ones that always knew how strong he was in middleweight. I just didn't realize how much everyone else was as good as middleweight as well. So it's an easy yes for me, and I'm not just saying that because I'm from New Zealand. So, JTH, what would you have said about the Lord of the Rings exhibition match?
Yeah, kind of the same thing with me with Star Wars. I don't have a passion for Lord of the Rings, but yeah, I was really hyped when this match was announced, and kind of what you alluded to, Malcolm. When we heard that Robert Parker was going to be in this match, I didn't have the mindset of how's Robert going to do. I was wondering with all the other players, are they going to be able to hang with Robert Parker? Because like when he was in the fan leagues, he was literally Robert the Hobbit Parker. So it was like we all knew like his in-depth knowledge of Lord of the Rings. And so it's like when the match happened, we were like, God dang, all these guys know what they're talking about, and they all know their stuff. And so just to see it go on and on and on, and it's been 63 years, and then the match finally ends, and it's just it's easy yes for me as well. This is a match that, even though it's an exhibition match, to me this is a match that you would show any person that likes movies or trivia and get them into the Schmoedown. So easy yes for me.
JD, what would you have said about the Lord of the Rings exhibition?
I would have, if it came down to me, I would have said no, but it's not due to the quality of the match. It's a great match. I think it's something similar to what you guys said about the Jurassic Park match. I just don't have like a passion for Middle Earth. I like them when I watch them, but it's not like of the inner geekdom ones. That one's like lower on the list for me. So that's probably why I would have said no, but I knew it was going to make it anyways.
But with that being said, Jordan, we go to you for your next nomination.
All right, so I got to go for one that's maybe not brought up as much. Maybe I'm not totally sure, but I got to go with Josh McCouga v. Finn Draco match, the one where Draco came in with the Finstock mask on, and so it was the whole thing where he was supposed to take on Finstock, and then it ended up being Draco in disguise, and Josh McCouga came out and he actually won. He actually beat Draco, so I thought that was pretty amazing to see, because he was shocked at it and like thought that it was not fair, but I mean he didn't really feel that way after he won. I mean he definitely was okay with it after that. So I would definitely nominate the McCouga versus Finn Draco.
Yeah, I enjoyed this match. Like it was fun to see Josh Cougar actually hold his own against Mark and Draco. But this is just one of those ones that I feel does get lost in the shuffle a lot. This is not one I actually do go back and rewatch. Like this is just one of those ones that the moment of Mark and Draco coming out in the Finstock costume, that I think that is what people remember more about this match than the match itself. But JTH, what do you say about Bakuga versus Finn Draco?
This is tough. I didn't even realize we're already down to only 2 slots left, so it made me think about this a little bit more. Kind of what you alluded to, Malcolm. We kind of remember the post match or the pre match first, and also the post match. I don't remember as much about the match itself. I remember obviously that it was neck and neck throughout, but just it was one of those weird stipulations. Loser was banned for a year. I'm not really sure how they would have played it out if it had gone the other way with Bakuga losing, but the way that it played out, obviously it was the introduction to Tom Dagnio's actual persona out of the Finstock character, which was a good breath of fresh air. I think it livened up his character a whole lot in Schmoedown. But in terms of the actual match, I don't think it stands up with the best of the best. So I would have to say no.
JD, what do you say about Bakuga versus Finn Draco?
I'm debating back and forth because on the one hand, Josh Makuga was one of my favorite competitors to watch. I just thought he was a great personality of the Schmoedown, who was underrated, and when he actually wanted to try to hang with everybody else, he could. On the other hand, Mark Andreyko coming out of the Defense Talk match, that's what everybody knows. And I think it also, this is where I started to like a bit of the Mark Andreyko as a player, his reputation wise, kind of started taking a hit for me a bit, because the fact that Josh Makuga did beat him, and everybody was saying Mark Andreyko is one of the top players, upper echelon players, and he lost to Josh Makuga, which to me kind of is that, yeah. So for me, it's a no.
Nikki, what do you have said about Bakuga versus Finn Draco?
So in hindsight, it is a very entertaining match. And at the time, I was one of those people complaining, like, this isn't what we were advertised. But in hindsight, it really is a funny gag that he ended up doing. The reason I'm saying no is behind the scenes, and Draco has revealed he was extremely sick, but he wasn't comfortable saying no because he was very new to the league. So with that knowledge, it's actually a little worse watching. But it's still a very entertaining storyline they did. So I'll give it that. And obviously the upset with Makuga is amazing, but I have to say no.
But with that, it's on to me for my next pick. And I'm going to go for a very recent pick. In fact, it's probably the most recent match that's ever been done. It's Collins versus Merle. This is just like Adam Collins went for a tear last season, just went through the tournament, knocked out Roker on his way, took out a whole bunch of people that no one ever thought that this rookie would ever do. Then it came down to Merle, was like, oh yeah, like he's going to lose to Merle. It went down to sudden death to the wire. Adam Collins took it out. To me, this is probably a really great match. I get it's the most recent match. That's because it was the last match, spectacular, but it's still a really great match. It shows like Collins, just this new upcoming rookie, starting what probably could be his own feud with Merle from now on for a little bit. But JTH, what do you say about Collins versus Merle?
See, this is tough because it seems like we only think of Dan Merle matches being great when he loses, because it's the shock value of I can't believe he lost. it's like when he wins the matches, we don't think of them as top tier, because to us, many people think that Dan is obviously the best player. So it's like whenever he loses, the match means more. And to me, I think it was exactly the same in this match, because a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people even at the time still even knew who Alex Collins was. I mean, obviously, as he was winning more matches, he obviously gained a little more reputation, but he was a complete unknown when he first came into Schmoedown for most fans' minds. And for him to go right up the corporate ladder in Schmoedown and pretty much do what Paul Oyama did the year before, who also eventually beat Dan Murrow and won the title, it resonates more with people. So it's kind of an unfortunate knock on Dan when we only think of great matches or the matches that give him a run for his money. But yeah, I would say yes.
JD, what do you say about Collins versus Murrow?
There are only 2 spots left. That's where my hesitancy with this lies. If this was brought up earlier, I may have given it a bit more leniency. But the fact that you said it's very recent, Adam Collins is a player. He's impressive. I'm not going to deny that. Like, he's a very impressive singles player. He had a great rookie season. A lot of these other matches have more time to sit. And there's one particular match that if we don't get to or at least discuss, I think I'm going to be very, very upset that it wasn't brought up. And then, I need more time with this one. So it's no.
Nikki, what do you say about Collins versus Murrow?
So this is a case where I was very upset by the result of this because I wanted Dan to win badly. I am going to say yes, but I actually kind of disagree with JTH on why. I actually feel like I heard a good number of people who did genuinely believe Collins was going to win. And I went into it feeling like it was very even. The only chink in his armor we had really seen was the fact that I nearly lost to Brendan Meyer and beat him barely in sudden death. And I think, like, when you think of just the fallout of that with the fact that Dagnino was supposed to be there and he wasn't, and that was completely unscripted, and just the way he comes in at the end, like, so many of the story implications were pretty amazing, whether intent or not, with him and Roga. And that way Dan, like, just stood firm that whole time, and Jen, like, trying to navigate the interview. So, and of course, just the insanely high level of play. And yeah, it was crushing for me watching him lose it. And I'll concede that it's very tough. I initially had on my list, took it off. But when I think of, because I don't want to give too much of a knock on digital matches, since, like, obviously it's no one's fault. But if I think of the digital matches, this is probably one of the best by far to me. So I will give it a yes.
Yeah. And it does make the list. Jordan, what would you have said about Collins versus Murrow?
So for me, I kind of had the same kind of thinking that JD has. Just seeing that there's only 2 spots left. There's a couple of matches that I really want to see mentioned. And so and I think Adam Collins is a beast. Like, he's amazing. And I think if we have a little more time to kind of sit on it, I think maybe down the road it might end up in one of the greatest matches of all time, but I kind of feel like not quite yet, but give it some time, and like maybe by like, I don't know, like 6 months or something, we might be saying that, but I think for right now, there's just a couple other matches I'd like to see advance, so I have to say no.
But with that, we do have 1 spot left. JDH, can you fill the hole?
Probably not, because I'm going with a personal bias pick here. I'm actually going to nominate the match that was the first reaction I did on this channel. I reacted to it with Chris Clark and Jen Kemp. It was the first match of the first Schmoedown live event. I have been on record. This, although it doesn't have the name appeal and the greatness, it is still a criminally underrated match and always gets overlooked when people do ranking lists like this. I'm going to bring up the Real Rejects versus the Wildberries match. And the reason why is when you, number one, this match, in my opinion, is so rewatchable, just on how much fun these guys had. And when you go back and watch it, remembering that this was the first time that we were having a live audience where everyone was able to interact with the players. Obviously, as more and more live events took place, we don't feel the same kind of enthusiasm. But when we first saw that first live show and seeing fans reacting to the Wildberries and the Real Rejects, it was amazing. And the match was also amazing. And also with all the storyline that had played out. Because remember, at the time, the Wildberries had not won a match. And we thought the Wildberries were never going to win a match because it was just, they're put together for comic relief and they're never going to win. And you also had the Real Rejects who hadn't won a match in forever. And so it was like something had to give. And it was it was literally the perfect match that you could put together for the first live show. And when the result happened and the Wildberries won, everybody goes crazy. And somebody got Makuga's coat that I remember meeting that person at the free for all. They actually said that they framed it and everything. So it was kind of funny to actually get to talk to that person. But it's out of left. It's not only out of left field. It's like way in the upper deck. In the nosebleed seats. But I'm going to go with Wildberries Real Rejects. I still love this match. I still go back and rewatch it. Never going to make the list, but just give it some love.
JD, what do you say about Wildberries Real Rejects?
I think it's a very fun match. It is a fun match. You can't. There's not many funner matches than the Wildberries versus Real Rejects. However, we are talking about the top 12 matches of all time, and we only have one spot left. And it is, while I do love Josh Makuga, the personality and everything else, there was a time where he beat Clark Wolf. Like, that was a thing that happened. He beat Mark and Draco. That was a thing that happened. And to me, this is like the beginning of like the right turn that he took with his career. Well, while fun, it's bygone the days where he actually was competing when I was watching and really fell in love with the Schmoedown. It was a part of me hurts when I kind of while it is great that that's where he went, there's a part of me that also loved the competitive Makuga that was kind of hurt that that's where his career ultimately went. So it's like there's two parts of me that are struggling with that one too for those reasons. So yeah, no.
But Nikki, what do you say about Wildberries' Real Rejects?
To keep it short and sweet, it was incredibly entertaining, and I love both of those teams. But there is a very specific teams match that I really need to have on this list if I can. So unfortunately, no.
Jordan, what do you say about Wildberries versus Real Rejects?
So Wildberries are awesome. They're probably one of the most fun teams to watch, and I think that the Schmoedown needs Josh Makuga. I know he's incredibly busy, but I mean, one way or another, we got to at least get him to come back and announce some matches or something. The Schmoedown is just not the same without him. But I, in the same way, there's one particular teams match that I want to see on here. I hope we're on the same page. We'll see, but yeah, I probably gotta say no for this one, but it was fun.
I'm so shocked it didn't make the list.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Wildberries versus Real Rejects, but this is one I would have had a hard job saying no to because there's other matches I much rather have here over this one. But so yeah, it's tough that I would have said no to it. But yeah, JD, it's your turn to bring up a match.
So I was debating back and forth between John Roca and Dan Murrell 1, but I hope this is the team match that the other two of us, Jordan and Nikki, were thinking about, because there's a team match I really want to see on here, and it's Child Wolves versus Who's the Boss.
Yep.
Yes, I really want to. To me, Who's the Boss is the best team that never won a belt. And the fact that they're never going to win a belt, I find is. There's a part of me that's heart is broken they were always so close, and they just always ran into like they were like one question off, always one question off. And this time it was the Shirewolves, who are an amazing team. And this was the Shirewolves match that I was talking about earlier that I just love over Corruption. And that was the one that made it over my initial list over Shirewolves and Corruption.
But Nikki, was this the match you were thinking of?
Yes, and this is how and I'm capable of being objective because I loved Who's the Boss, and it was crushing, but it wasn't too crushing just because it was such a high-level match. Both teams got the full 12 without going into multiple choice in round 2. The gameplay was amazing. It breaks my heart that it was a Pixar question that Who's the Boss lost on, but it was down to the wire. And then, of course, for the Shirewolves, because that was their first defense after everyone was kind of dismissing their initial win because of the free-for-all cash-in to get the titles. But and of course, even though it wasn't the winning entrance, like the incredible entrance with all the female competitors who came out in full costume, it's like just so many aspects of that match. And then, of course, there was the fallout of the actual Civil War that came from the end of that match. So there's just so many things that played into that match, storyline wise, gameplay wise, and it's probably, as far as spectacular matches go, besides Nap Sock were probably the greatest one ever in my opinion.
Jordan, what do you say about Shoals' Who's the Boss?
Well, I have to say, great minds think alike, because this is exactly what I was thinking too. So I think this is the true title match for them. I feel like that, like the true like where they actually like proved it to the world, because they had that cash-in match where they played like Sick in the Head, I think is what they were called. But and yeah, like it was just amazing. And I have so much love for Who's the Boss, because if you watch either Ben Bateman or Mark Riley, like their individual channel, there's no two people that are better to their fans than those two. They're like so amazing to their fans, and so it makes me just love them so much. But I mean, and I was just so happy to see the Shirewolves actually really prove themselves, that they actually like are the true champions, and that they deserve those belts. And so yeah, there are a lot of emotions involved in this match. You just saw how emotional everybody got after the match. So I mean, I think that this one definitely belongs.
Yeah, I do love this match. I probably would have said no, just because there's other matches that I think are slightly better than this. But with that being said, it's made the list regardless. I can't do anything about it now. JDH, what would you have said about Shoal? Who's the boss?
I would have said yes too, just because of all the emotions that happened. Obviously, this was a time when Riley was kind of down on himself and was wondering if he could be an elite player again, and he had another elite player with him in Ben Bateman. Obviously, everything with the Shirewolves that was going on, and it was just such a great stakes in the match, and it really kind of solidified why I like Bateman so much as a team player, just because he feeds so much off his partner. One of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to seeing how him and Merle potentially could go. They're kind of like the current age Mankind and the Rock and Sock connection. One's the great one, the other one's famous for going through tables and kind of literally. And hey, somebody got the joke. Yep. It's a great match. It's a match that I would have had a hard time saying no as well. If it came down to me, I would have said yes. So I have no problem with it making the list.
But with that being said, that we've formed the list, we still have to rank them now. But how we rank these is we put what we want to at 12 on a whiteboard or a bit of paper, whatever you've got handy to write on. But before we do that, Nikki, did you have any honorable mentions?
Hold on. Well, actually, I just want to say, and maybe this is a testament to my taste, because my top 5 all made it. Actually, my top 6 all made it. But just really quickly, My honorable mentions are, again, as an action in general, top 10 versus Team Action 1, just for the massive upset and the entertainment value of it. And then a super biased choice, Corruptions versus Founding Fathers 3, because I was there live in Orlando when Founding Fathers took the belt. And then another one I just want to shout out because we obviously didn't get a lot of Star Wars and IG matches, but is actually Kelly Cabrera, because of how high level of a match that was, and that to me was like the definitive match that showed that Ace was like here to dominate that tournament.
But Jordan, do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, there's a couple. So I just kind of saved these as just kind of personal favorites, really. But one of them was actually Patriots versus Top 10-3 because I just love Matt Nost. Like we're kind of kindred spirits. We're both huge basketball fans, and so I watch his dropping dimes all the time, and just the character working out with the big stick in his mouth, kind of making fun of the toothpick from Snyder there, and so I like that one. And then also Dan Murrell versus Paulo Yama. That I thought that was a great match. It was a live event, so that was a lot of fun. I got to give some love to season 1, JTE versus Christian Harloff. They had the whole the Blue Fairy incident with Christian, and that's one that just gets brought up all the time for the beginnings of season 1. Let's see. Also, Smets versus Chandru, I think was definitely an awesome match too. Definitely, those two had a pretty big rivalry going on. So that one was a lot of fun. And let's see, probably. Oh, and also Clark Wolf versus Sam Levine. I thought that one was an awesome match too. So yeah, I'd probably. Oh, and then also got to give a little shout out. I mean, I know it's not a fun one necessarily to rewatch, but the match where Mark Knopik played Rachel Cushing and they're both sick and they went like so many rounds and there you could just see it. And when I first started watching, I didn't even realize they were sick. I was just like what is happening? They're not trying very hard. But then I'm like, oh, okay. I finally caught on. Like they're not feeling good. So yeah. but anyways, yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, I mean, the Rachel Morrow one for me was on my list. I started off with the top 12 list, have a very lot of written down now. But with that being said, I'm not going to read them all out because we'll be here forever. But some of the ones that I was going to sort of bring up, I do not know where I'm going to start off with. But Who's the Boss versus Crazy 80 Greats was a very great match. Force Bros versus the Council was just a fun match with Collins versus Roko I had on my list. I'm sad that for the lack of IG matches on our list, but KO versus Mets was coming out. Critically Acclaimed versus Late to the Party. The moment Chris Clark's heart broke when Late to the Party just KO'd Critically Acclaimed. Yep. But yeah, JD, I have any honorable mentions?
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry.
Off the top of my head, you had Roka and Harloff back at the Ultimate Schmoedown way back in the day. I love that. I think it was the first blindfold match that Roka did. That match always stands out. Mance Roka, the first the Bespin incident. It's not a great match, but that's the match that kind of like Campia and Merle. Probably a match that a lot of people got invested in the Schmoedown with. Off the top of my head, also Chance and Oyama, obviously the fan league match and the build up was amazing. Irwin Merle too, the live match at Brooklyn. I think that was a very good match as well. And that's all I can think of off the top of my head. So I'll leave it at that.
JD, any honorable mentions?
I have a few. Jordan actually mentioned one of mine, Mara Kanopek versus Rachel Cushing, I think is the Schmoedown version of the sick game. That is just an amazing match. I know they were hurting and it's not 100% comfortable to watch, but to see them just pull through it and make it to sudden death, I think is it's a testament to both of those players. Also, KO versus Smets at the Spectacular, where Smets won it over KO. That proved that Smets was the ultimate Inner Geekdom player at that time.
I'm going to ruin the run of Mikey 3 belts. I just got to throw that in.
Yep. And then John Roca versus Merle versus Riley, where Merle actually won it over John Roca and Riley. Roca versus Riley free just happened. Riley actually won that one. So there was a lot of interesting stakes going on with that one. And then lastly, again, Mara is one of my favorite players. I talked a little smack on her during Schmoedown on Wednesday, but that had nothing to do with her as a player. He just took that pick before I could make it. So Mara versus Jason Inman, where Mara wins the championship. Jason Inman was one of the 2 people who, I think 3 people actually, to defend the title, the Inner Geekdom title at that time. And Mara won it from him. So, yeah.
And some that have been mentioned in the chat, Roka versus Mance, Jericho versus Kevin Smith, Bateman versus Guy in Houston, Corruption versus Founding Fathers 4, Robert My Burnett versus Dagnino, Kalinowski versus Smets, Free for All 3, Kelly versus Demalanta, Time Machine Paddington 2, Ethan Irwin versus Lon,
Yep.
Demalanta versus Grimtraw, and Merle versus Bibbs and versus the Kid is another one. But that being said, we're going to get to the ranking. I've already got mine written down, but
I'm just trying to remember all the ones that were there. I don't know.
I've put they all in the private chat. If you
so wait, what exactly are we supposed to do?
Write down the match you want to put at number 12.
Okay.
And whatever one gets the most votes is what ends up on 12 on our official list. Yeah.
So just write one of them.
I just noticed, Malcolm, you put Batman versus Merle 1. So can't wait to vote
number 1 if it.
So I just want to clarify. I think it was Cushing Kalinowski 1 that we decided, because the second one was the San Diego match.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they had an Inner Geekdom match the year before.
Oh shoot! Yeah, you're right. The one San Diego was the third one. I always forget that first one. Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure. Okay.
I remember that one because that was when they first did the category expansion in
James Bond. And James Bond.
But with that being said, I like this match about Wiley versus McCougar. JDH.
Blofelds versus Rachel, because that's what the match actually was.
JD.
Collins versus Merle. As I said, I just need more time with it before I can really understand where it fits on here.
Nikki.
Riley versus McCougar.
Jordan.
I gotta go with Collins versus Merle too.
Which means JDH will be the tiebreaker. Collins versus Merle or Riley versus McCougar?
As much as I like it, I probably have to go Riley McCougar.
Hurts my heart. That's all right.
Sorry, season 1, we tried.
Yep, we tried.
But JDH, what do you have for 11?
Sticking with Blofelds versus Rachel Nurse Watch.
JD.
Sticking with Merle versus Collins.
Nikki.
Blofelds Nerd Watch.
Jordan.
I got Bibbs versus Andreyko 1.
Changing it, smart, interesting strategy, because it's just because it's just so recent. I've got Collins versus Merle. so Jordan, Blofeld's watch, Blofeld's Cat versus News Watch, or Collins Merle.
See, probably Collins Merle. I gotta go with that.
JD, what do you have?
This time I went with Blofeld versus Merle.
Blofeld versus
I'm
Merle?
sorry, Blofeld versus Rachel.
I figured that's what you meant.
Oh God!
Yeah,
Oh,
cool,
God.
The matches we
I'd
could
pay
have
to do
had, Nikki.
yeah.
All right, I erased it for no reason, so Blofeld's never to watch.
Jordan.
Let's see. I got Collins v. Merle. Yeah.
We've got Collins v. Merle at 11.
Oh, we already got it at 11. Oh, I thought we were like doing a tiebreaker. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, no.
You
Well,
were the
double check.
tiebreaker.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now I see what you're saying. Well, you might have to come back to me in a quick second.
But I'm going to go ahead because I've got Blofeld versus Newswatch. JDH.
You don't have to worry about it. I sealed it for you. Blofeld's Rachel.
Yep. There you go.
Save that marker. Make it last about 15 seconds longer.
Yep.
I hate putting this one here, but it's really got to be this one. Nikki, what do you have for 9?
Gerald's for his corruption.
Jordan.
Let's see. We put this one already? Bibbs v. and Draco 1?
Not yet.
Okay.
I've, as much as it pains me, I've got Lord of the Rings exhibition. JDH.
I have Merle versus Guy.
JD.
So it was between LTR exhibition, but in the end, I also went with Corruption versus Shire Wolves.
All right.
I was getting why we're going to go to a 5-way tie. In which case, but yeah, Shire Wolves versus Corruption. And fun fact, when I put that into the private chat, my spell checker went off like, you spelled corruption wrong. I was like, no, this is the way they spell it.
Right. Yep.
But Jordan, what do you have?
I'm still gotta go with Bibbs v. and Draco 1.
For me, it's a fun match. Don't come after me, Action Army people. I've got Merle versus Guy. JTH.
Also have Merle versus Guy.
JD.
I have the LTOR, the Lord of the Rings exhibition.
Nikki.
I have Bibbs versus Andraco.
Ooh.
So JD, Bibbs versus Andraco or Merle versus Guy at 8.
So in this case, I'm going to have to go with Bibbs and Andraco. Those are the two I'm going to have to choose between.
So I have no idea why I changed my mind for that one, but never mind. So I just realised something I did, but that would have. But anyway, But for number 7, I've got the Lord of the Rings exhibition. JTH.
I'm getting more depressed seeing this match on my board. Earl versus Guy.
JD.
I'm sticking with the Lord of the Rings exhibition.
Nikki.
It's probably controversial. I forgot the number. But Patriots above the line too.
Jordan.
I got to go with the Lord of the Rings exhibition.
Lord of the Rings exhibition is going to be 7.
Yeah, it's more justice than the awards gave it.
That is true. That is really true. But yeah, Stephen, it's not that we're saying Collins versus Mill is bad. There's been as low because it is literally so recent. So like to put it above.
Really the only reason why I put it as low as I did.
No, exactly. But JDH, what do you have for 6?
Please get this match off my board. Merle Guy.
JD.
Above the line versus Patriots 2.
Nikki.
No, it will stay on your board. Patriots above the line too.
Jordan.
Yep, I got above the line v Patriots too.
I've got Mill versus Guy. But above the line Patriots 2 is going to be 6. I'm low-key kind of glad no one nominated Zafert Flaus versus Kevin Smith because I would have had a hard job spelling Zafert Flaus.
Right.
But JD, what do you have for number 5?
Cushing versus KO 2.
Nikki.
Cushing versus KO 2.
Jordan.
I have the Sharwolves versus Corruption.
That's already been ranked.
Yeah,
Has it been
that
there?
was 9.
Well, I'll go with Cushing versus KO then. Yeah, that'll be my next one.
Me and JDH still probably had Mill versus Guy. Cushing versus KO is 5.
That's totally despicable.
Just to recap what's left, we've got Mill versus Guy, Bateman versus Mill.
Whitwer Napstock.
Sam Whitwer
and then Sharewolves.
And Sharewolves versus Who's the Boss. Yeah. I think I know what's going to happen here again. Nikki, what do you have for number 4?
I have Sharewolves, Who's the Boss.
Okay, my theory wasn't going to go that way.
No, I know what's going to happen. This isn't going to leave my board.
Jordan, what do you have for number 4?
I have Bateman and V Guy 1.
Ooh.
You mean Bateman versus Merle 1?
Oh yeah. Sorry. I meant to say Merle. Yeah, that's my
I was about to say that one never came up in nomination. But yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah.
I've got Merle versus Guy.
Merle versus Guy.
JD, what do you?
So I guess there's going to be a tiebreaker because I had Bateman versus Merle 1.
So Nikki, Merle versus Guy or Bateman versus Merle?
These are literally my top 2. This sucks, but this is actually at least pretty easy. It has to be Merle Guy, so it can be off your board now.
Praise the Lord.
Because see, Merle versus Bateman was my top 2. Bateman and Verrill and Who's the Boss are like my type 2.
Then why did you vote for it?
No, Bateman. I'm sorry. Who's the Boss versus
Yeah.
Firewolves.
Oh, my mistake. Oh,
Yeah, those are my top two, so I wasn't going to vote for it.
Actually, no. But JD, what do you have for 3?
I didn't write it on the board, but I'm going to stick with what I had before, which is Bateman versus Merle 1.
Nikki, what do you have for 3?
sticking with Cheryl's versus Who's the Boss.
Jordan.
I've got Bateman v. Merle 1.
I've got Sam Witwer versus Ken Knapsack. JTH.
That is also what I have. Star Wars Iron Man.
All right. Good for me then. I'm going to go what were knapsack.
Oh,
Kind of figured.
that was my number 1. Just went away.
Instead of putting your number 2 on the board, go to write down the number 1. Between Childs versus Who's the Boss and Bateman versus Merle 1.
We're writing the one that's our first choice.
The first choice, yes.
Oh, our first choice. Hang on.
Just because the other one's going to become number 2 by default. So I kind of want that default to happen rather than the number 1 happen by default once. Yeah. All right. Jordan, what is your number 1?
My number 1 is Star Wars v. Who's the Boss.
My number 1 is Bateman versus Merle 1. JTH.
Batman v. Merle, Dawn of Schmoedown.
Yep.
JD.
Not that I think this is going to matter because I think I know where Nikki's going to go, but I had Shirewolves versus Who's the Boss as 1.
Nikki.
This is a great night. Bateman Merle 1.
But with that, Charles is Who's the Boss is 2.
Hey,
Batman versus Merle is 1 is but with that, I'm going to recap the 12. At number 12, we've got Riley versus McCougar. At 11, we've got Collins versus Merle. At 10, we got Blofeld's Cat versus Newswatch. Well, just Rachel really. 9, we've got Shy Wolves versus Corruption. At 8, we've got Bibbs versus Andraco. At 7, we've got the Lord of the Rings exhibition match. At 6, we've got Above the Line versus Patriots 2. At 5, we've got Cushing versus KO2. At 4, we've got Merle versus Guy. At 3, we've got Sam Witwer versus Kim Netsock. At 2, we've got Shy Wolves versus Who's the Boss. And 1, we've got Batman versus Merle 1.
Batman.
Proving that Superman actually wins.
Yep.
But with that being said, we've come to the end. I'm going to have there will be a poll on the Take 3 page with the 5 options for what you want the topic for ranking to be next week. JTH, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook with Jeremy Hastings. You can find me on Twitter at WWEJTH1 and my personal YouTube channel, JTH.
JD, where can people find you online?
So I am at JD Domash on Twitter. The J and the 2 Ds are capital in that Twitter handle. I'm around the fan leagues. I've dipped my toe into that. Maybe I'll appear on Nikki's channel's trivia match soon. We'll figure that out at some point. But I'll let Nikki speak more to that. Other than that, I was recently on Schmoebaits, as I said. You can hear me talk about Screw the Boss, where I pitched Mark Riley and Alonzo Dorade as a team.
But Nikki, where can people find you online?
As JD prefaced, you can find me at my channel at Action Army Brats, which is because I like self-deprecation. So far, it's been an amalgamation of different just trivia amongst the Action Army generals. It's been kind of Pixar heavy lately, but it's been a lot of fun. And there are hopefully going to be some more down the pipeline eventually. Other than that, that's it for me.
Jordan, where can we find you online?
you can find me at my YouTube channel. It's called Movie Hero. We're actually going live at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. We have a show called Tier Ranker Fights, and we've been ranking the best remakes and reboots. And actually, probably JD might be a part of that. So you can look forward to that. And then I also run the Facebook group called Schmoedown Friends and Family. So basically, if you have a YouTube channel that you run, or if you have any projects you're working on, that's the place to go and self-promote. So you can go over there, you can post anything that you want, and then I'll tweet it out. I'll put it on my own Facebook page. I'll show you guys some love there. So definitely go check out that group. So yeah.
And you can find me over at Full Metal. I run Full Metal Classic, which is on Sundays. I host Full Metal Random, which is trivia based on anything people want to throw out a challenge for. This week is Disney animated. We've got Nazario versus Kelly Meehan versus Chris Ayres. I cannot remember the fourth person that's in there, but it is someone cool. I guarantee it.
Nice.
But with that
Good
being
save.
said, you can also find me on Take 2. I host Rankum. Next week's topic will be whatever it gets voted on in the poll. Late Night will be back this week. I'm pretty confident on that. It will be romantic comedies in honor of Valentine's Day. You can, and I'm not sure if I'll do a react to some of this week. There really isn't much to talk about, just other than the matches that have been announced. So, yeah. But with that being said, until next time, keep listing shit.